Hi people, hope you're well and welcome to a blast from the past product review, yeah? And today's product review is the chest expander. Now the chest expander is a really interesting piece of equipment, yeah? Because it was invented roughly 1840s and it wasn't originally how you thought it was. The new chest expanders mostly are all springs nowadays, yeah? And they did it a big craze in the 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s where they were all springs, yeah? But they started off in the 1840s as round rubber bands, yeah, and you could have 10 strands at a time with these rubber bands, yeah, and that's how they were invented, and they were made from the rubber plantations, yeah, and people like Eugene Sandow, I think Eugene Sandow got trained by somebody, what's his name, Professor Attila. They used all the rubber banded chest expanders, and so did the great Joe Bonamo, yeah, he called his the Black Beauty, yeah, and I got a workout by him, and I think that was in the 40s. But yeah, the one I'm going to review today is both the Terry's chest expander and the Spenby chest expander, yeah, and I'm going to kind of give them a bit of a comparison to see which is best. Now, surprisingly, I use the Spenby's the most, but my favourite is the Terry's, and I'm going to compare the two today, and you'll find out why I think the Terry's is slightly better than the Spenby. Yeah? Those psychedelic rubberised handles, and they're quite slippy, I don't like them. Now, the good thing about a wooden handle, just in case you're wondering, once you've used it a few times, you've sweated on it a few times, yeah, they do get a good grip on them, and you don't need to use chalk anymore. That's why I use the wooden handle version. They're a lot better. I had a chest expander when I was a kid. It wasn't my chest expander, but this turned up in our house in around 1979 when I was about 8 years old, and it turned up as part of a kit. It was a chest expander and a rowing machine, and you've seen me all the time in my videos using that rowing machine, yeah, it's the same one. Now the good thing about that is you could take all the springs off the rowing machine and you could make the chest expander. Now I remember as a kid I could only ever put one spring on that, two if I felt good, and probably pull it to about there, yeah, because as a kid this is rock hard. Now I used to train with weights for a long time, yeah, and I thought I was strong. I could bench press 320s on either side, I could deadlift 190 kilograms, I could squat 170 kilograms, I could shoulder press sat down with a free weight, yeah, 115 kilograms for 10, 3 sets of 10, quite easy when I was in my 20s. So when I used the chest expander, when I was in my late 40s properly, I thought I'm only going to use it because I can't train properly, so it'll be a nice little strengthening tool, yeah. Well, how wrong were I? The chest expander trains all your joints, all your tendons and ligaments, your grip and your bones, yeah? So if you think you're strong and you've never trained those things before, you've got a shock coming, yeah? Because you find out you're not half as strong as what you thought you were. And this is what's so special about the chest expanders, you know? What people don't realise. They think it's a long lost art, but it's not. It's a real strengthening tool. And it really does need to be part of your training armour. So yeah, let me just try and explain the difference between weights and springs, yeah? So when you train with weights, even though you've got a weight on there, the force that's coming at you is gravity. You're basically stopping gravity. Gravity makes everything return to the floor. So you add a weight onto it, and then that item returning to the floor is heavier, makes it harder, yeah? But what you get when you train with a spring, you're not just fighting gravity, you're actually fighting a force that's pulling backwards. So you're trying to pull it that way, and the force is trying to pull itself backwards, yeah? Now that's where the joint training comes in, ligaments and tendons come in, yeah? For some reason, when you fight a spring, you train in joints, ligaments and tendons because of that pulling nature. And it wants to pull everything in, yeah? So you have to open your shoulder sockets when you use them, rather than when you're bench pressing, yeah? You don't even think about that. And this is when you become injured because you're not training those joints, the strength, you're training them. You're not training the inner joints, yeah? So the inner joints become weakened, they become stronger than the inner joints, and then you get things popping off, like my supraspinatus, yeah? So if I would have trained all my life with weights and I'd have adopted this as well, I'd have never have torn this supraspinatus. And I'm convinced I would never have done it, yeah? Because I'd have trained the joints, ligaments and tendons, yeah? How they should be trained. And you're only as strong as your joints, ligaments and tendons. So you can't overtrain with these, yeah? If they're not strong enough to pull this spring, you won't pull it. However, if they're not strong enough to bench press 160 kilograms, you will still bench press 160 kilograms, and this is where we get injured. So anybody who trains must try these as a regular part of the workout. So let me show you this spenby chest expander first. Now, back in 1979, the spenby chest expander came with this fantastic wall chart, yeah, and it had a picture of a bloke on, yeah, that I swear is natural. Look at physique on that. Now, if you compared him with Arnold Schwarzenegger and other bodybuilders, it's not that fantastic, is it? Because we're used to seeing a lot bigger people. But trust me, that's a fantastic physique. Stand to attention, tense the legs, tense the glutes, and it will literally pull out that way. Yep, and then back. That was your first exercise. Now that is biceps, triceps and all your shoulders. And then basically the next exercise was elbows level, like so. Yeah, and I have to stand over here and it would just literally straighten that arm. Yeah, like so. That was back, tricep exercise in rear delts, and then when you return it, it becomes a bicep exercise, front delts and front chest, yeah. Now, you don't realise this when you first start using this, but it does. I know it's called a chest expander, but people think of them, and I thought of it as a back workout, yeah, because it's predominantly back, but it's not. It's back when you're pulling, and then it's a front when you're stopping it from springing back. Now, if you just pull it, and then you let it spring back like so, you're not training hardly anything on the return. But if you pull it, yep, and then slowly return, then you're training biceps, deltoids, front chest, especially there and there. This next exercise is the classic chest expander exercise that you used to see on telly, where people would do this and let their arms squeeze back in and push back out. Yep. This exercise is really, really good for your shoulder rotators. If you've got damaged rotators, it's one of the best exercises you can do, because what it does, it strengthens your cuff in the outward position. So you see that space you create? It strengthens your cuff at that space and it stops it all from being squashed like that. And it really, really is good for shoulder damage, yeah. So this next exercise resembles a lat raise, yep. And it's very difficult on these, especially with two springs, but I'll try it. The reason it's difficult for me with two springs is because I've got no supraspinators, so I can't do that under any considerable load, but we'll see. It won't go, but it did. Ooh, yep, so it's a shoulder raise, yeah. That's how weak that side is, because I've got no supraspinators. It's what makes your arm do that. It's what makes your elbow go in. Yeah, it's what makes your arm do that. I haven't got one. So that exercise is very difficult for me, yeah. So basically you start off up there, get on your toes, come down, squat right down on your knees forward, yep, and then come back up. Down, back up, on your toes. Down, back up, on your toes. That is a fantastic exercise for coordination, yeah. And it's a brilliant exercise for front glutes, because instead of being like a squat, it's more like a sissy squat and your knees go forward, yeah. And when your knees go forward like a sissy squat, it's good for knee strength, it's good for glute strength, hip strength, yeah, ankle mobility, and also coordination. Right, so now I'm going to compare the two. So you got your spenby. Imagine that's got a plastic handle, because that's not the original, that comes off an old Terry's. But then you got your Terry's, yeah. It's a lot shorter, as you'll notice. And the springs on the Terry's are a lot meatier. Now the Terry springs range from anywhere from £5 to £50. And they used to do a championship spring as well, which used to be the go-to chest expander for competitions, yeah. And which was a fantastic chest expander. I've got loads of sets of these. I've got a 5 set of 15s and I think I've got a 5 set of 30s, yeah. And it really, really does sort them out from the boys. So what's the major difference on these two then? Well, this one, these clips on there, yeah, you can, even when I was a kid I couldn't press them, but they're so easy. You just give them a little squeeze, like that, make a little gap, and it's out. Or you can press it in, make a little gap, and it's back in. Easy, yeah. Rather than try to get them over that, you'll never do it. What I didn't like, what I've never liked about the teddies is these hook grips. They're so hard to get off. So what I had to do was buy a load of different ones so I could just change them. So I could go from that to that quick, yeah. Because unclipping these is hard. And when you're in the middle of a workout, it takes all your time to unclip them, and it really, really is a nightmare. That is the only downside of these teddies. But as far as springs are concerned, these are far superior. So the pull on this is alright, and I'll tell you when you start to really feel it. So you'll pull, start to feel it about there, yeah. So it's nearly the end of your position. So you get a really good feel there to about there, and then it starts to weaken off, yeah. These, yeah, the pull is there, literally there. It starts right there and it don't lose any strength, and your pull is all the way there, so it's fighting me still, yep, and it can't give over. There's no rest there, it's still pulling me back. So the pull's right from there, right, keep going to there. So it's nearly the full stretch. So the minute you engage with this teddies, it's on, and the minute you stop engaging, then it only switches off. So you get more out of your exercise for this. In fact, I should use this more, to be fair, because it's a lot harder. So to get out of these, you have to go up in springs. To get the same effect out of the teddies, you can stay down in springs. So yeah, that's quite easy. All the power has gone out of those springs, yes. This is what I'm trying to say. Whereas all the power, and these are older, by the way, these are a lot older than them spenbys. All the power in these springs is still there. It hasn't lost its touch. And I'll tell you why, yeah. It's because of the shape of the spring, the conical shape of that spring, yeah. It's gonna keep its strength probably for a lifetime, and it's just down to the shape and thickness. Whereas this is cylindrical, yeah. It's got a weakness because it's straight, so it's gonna lose its spring. But saying that, considering that these are still £15, by the way, they're just not £15 all the way. They only get to £15 at the end. These are about £15, these ones. I've got £20 on some of them. But these start at £15 from there. And they maintain the £15 right to the end and right back again. So I hope I explain the difference between them, yeah. Out of the two, this is the far superior chest expander. And I've got to tell you, I've tried a few chest expanders in my time, and Teddy's is by far the best, yeah. I'll tell you which one I have not tried, and I can only imagine that they're very similar. Rob-Botics, and I'd love to try one, yeah, because they get a lot of good reviews. But for me, out of all the chest expanders I've tried, Teddy's are far superior. So when Teddy started to make their pieces of kit, yeah, they didn't have fancy photographs of a fellow with a really decent physique. They had cartoon drawings. But the magazine is still a very good magazine. And they've got like really good exercise in here, but all the exercises are very similar. So they have variations. So I'll use the Teddy's one, yeah. So in the Teddy's manual, they have variations where you start off like that, pull out. So that's first exercise, yeah. And then your second exercise is one arm. Yeah, but already when you use the Teddy's, that exercise, even though this is the same weight as the Spenbys, by the way, the exercise on the Teddy's is far harder. Yeah, because the pull is there straight away. Yep, and it's a right workout because it's so intense. Let's do another exercise I like with the Teddy's, and it's the deltoid press, yeah. Now the stretch is unbelievable on this. So it's really, really hard now, and it's really showing you. You have to have a straight arm there, triceps, and you have to have a straight arm there, yeah, and then you come down, right down to the shoulder, and press again. And the press is ridiculous. Now if I had a dumbbell the same weight as this, it'd feel like nothing, because it's just gravity fed, isn't it? Whereas this, you've got the same weight pushing down on you as what you try to push up, and that's the massive difference between chest expanders and weights. So the ultimate beauty about the chest expander system is, you've seen me use this door exercise, a wall exercise, haven't you? You can use them on doors, on walls, and you can also, they used to do a hook system where you'd have a bench you'd have a hook in the floor. You put your springs on those hooks and you'd be able to use them bench pressing, yeah. You could have your springs on your hooks and you'd be able to use them for shoulder raises, yeah. So they used to use stirrups because these handles are quite round and they hurt your feet. So they used to have a stirrup that you could use. Famously, Reg Park, he came up with a system where he had hooks on the floor, so he bench pressed with the cables, and he also had hooks on the floor, sorry, stirrups, flat stirrups, so he could stand on them like this, and he could do movements like that. Yeah, or he could even do movements like this, the bicep curl, yeah. So you can use them. It's a multi-gym, really. It is a multi-gym. So you don't just have to stand there and do all this, malarkey. Yeah, you can train your biceps. You can train your biceps. You can train your triceps. Yep. So you can do the tricep curl. Yep. And you can also train legs with these, yeah. Now, they didn't train legs the same way as you think. The way they trained legs with chest expanders was the positioning of the legs. In the spenby catalogue, it basically says stand to attention, squeezing these as hard as you can, squeezing this as hard as you can, abs. So literally, whenever you're stood there doing 10 of these, the legs, glutes, quads, hamstrings, abs are all squeezed, yeah. So it gets a workout throughout, yeah. Eugene Sandow used to make you point your heels in, point your toes out, squeeze everything, then bend down until you felt the big squeeze on the hamstrings, yeah. Then you'd have to stand there for as long as it took to do 10 of them. And you do that all the way through the workout. Now I've done the Eugene Sandow workout, and by the time you finish, stood there squeezing life out of these, they get a right pump. So yes, you could even train legs with the chest expander. So then you get to the likes of Joe Bonamore and his amazing routines in here. He found a way to train abs, he found a way to train legs, he found a way to train the full body. Now I'm not going to divulge too much out of this because I'm going to do the Joe Bonamore workout one day, all of it, yeah, because it really, really is clever stuff. But like I say, his original, like look at that for example, that's the exercise and a half, yeah. They do that in gym nowadays on those machines, don't they, where they open and close the legs. That's that with a chest expander. This was in 1940s. Joe Bonamore doing it back then. So yeah, I'm going to do this Joe Bonamore routine one day. But before I do it, I might do it as a train like a legend, because he was a legend. But yeah, he worked out a way to do leg exercises on them. And some of them are very weird and wonderful, but they work. They actually work. So I'm going to conclude my review about the Terry's and the Spenby chest expander. So, which one's the best? It's the Terry's. Always has been, always will be, because those springs, they're far superior, second to none. And as you know, Terry's was the inventor of that lamp. So they were a major spring manufacturer, yeah. And everybody like Spenby, Ajax, they all followed suit. Terry's were the first, one of the first to do springs, yeah. And they did that good a job that we still can buy them off the shelf. Well, no, we can still buy them, can't we, from eBay, yeah? And they're still in fantastic condition. I'm going to show you this set. Right, so look at that. This is the creme de la creme, yeah? And when I get it out of the box, you won't believe it. Look at that. What a beast of a machine that is, yeah? And look at it. Look how shiny it is. It's made of wood as well. Oh, it's just awesome, yeah. And each spring on there is, let me put my glasses on, £15. So these are the same as the Spenby, £15 springs. But do you know, like I said earlier, that the pull is straight away immediately, yeah. Where the Spenbys, they've got a bit of play. They've got quite a lot of play, the Spenbys. They're quite well worn. Try pull that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 36, £75, yeah. I've pulled £75 Spenbys before, and I can do them. So let's try £75 Terry's. Wow. Now I know I can do it this way. Oh, that's an animal, yeah. But I'm going to show you something else. Right, so look at this, 30-pound springs. And I've got 5 of them, yeah. And it's my mission one day to pull all 5, yeah. But 2 of these is nearly equivalent to that one, yeah. Nearly. The pull on that's unbelievable, yeah, it's beautiful, it's absolutely beautiful, it's just a work of art. And I can't wait, one day I'm going to train with these till I can do all 5, yeah. So that's 60, 120, 180 pound is what I can pull on these, yeah. And it'll be amazing when I do it, yeah. And that's my next goal, is to pull all 5 of those. But I mean, look at that, look at shine on that. This is, this will gotta be out 1960s at latest. It's 60-year-old. Look at it. That's quality. It looks like I just bought it. That's how good Teddy's was. And that's my review over, yeah. Keep training.